Yep, we're good. Being an online entrepreneur, a young male online entrepreneur between the ages of 22 to 35 is perhaps one of the most difficult things now to be. And I don't think we talk about this enough because, well, I mean, there's a stigma around men can talk about their feelings, and I'm not really one to talk about my feelings either. But the calls that I've recently had with some of my clients and with people that wanted to sign up for my program have shown me that young male entrepreneurs have a really hard time right now because there is so much pressure, so much comparison going on. And even when you are successful, but you don't feel successful, you still struggle with things, there is not really a way or a place where you can work through these things, which is one of the reasons why I created Rewired, my identity change program. And I experienced the same thing when I was making a lot of money, when I was making over 100 grand a month with my sales coaching company back in 2024, 2023, 2025. But I felt like shit. And there was no guideline. There was no strategy to deal with those kinds of things. And with all the clients that I speak to, they're all very intelligent guys, you know, very successful guys, very intelligent, very successful. They know what they're doing. But they're at the same time struggling extremely on the internal side of things, because making a lot of money but still feeling like you're chasing this empty thing, or still feeling unfulfilled, or battling with addictions, or, you know, living in shame and regrets and resentment because of actions that you take, and then being stuck in this loop, being stuck with yourself, knowing that there is something, a person, a version of you out there that is so much more than what you are now, but not being able to access that person while still being successful, holding up this image, not being able to show any cracks of weakness, because, well, as a man, it is hard. It's hard to just it's a fucking war out there. Like you're performing, like you're a high performer, but all of those things, they do kind of build up. And there is not really a place where you can understand how to deal with any of those things. And it's actually funny because it is the very thing that keeps us from performing at our highest level 24/7. I wouldn't even say performing, but just being our best selves. Just being, instead of performing to be our best selves. Because if you constantly have to perform your best self without really being it, it's going to take a lot of energy. And it's going to lead you to find relief and to relieve stress in things like porn, addictions, weed, scrolling, binge watching Netflix, food, because you need that release somewhere, right? If you're constantly trying to perform something but you're not really that thing. And a lot of guys, what I've noticed, go through that. A lot of guys have a lot of issues with that. A lot of guys struggle with that. And I think that when you look online and you see social media and you see what's going on out there, like when I look online, when I go out on social media right now, I can get fucking depressed. And I know that people say, yeah, but you can also get inspired. I understand, but most of us, we often go to a place of comparison because it's in our nature, because it's what we do. So you can have one win, but then you can see other people online and it's better, it's more, it's greater, better physique. Everyone's living their best life. No one is fucking honest with themselves. No one is fucking honest on social media. It's fucking fake. Yet we do see all of that, right? We do always get that input. We always get that comparison. So mix that with the fact that you're not, you know, performing at your highest level, you're not being at your highest level, and it can create a lot of tension. And especially if you don't really have places where you can share that or where you can work on that, it's very hard. And you have this pressure of being a man as well, especially if you're in your 20s, for example. You still need to prove yourself. You still are figuring out who you are. And at the same time, you have this money, you have, you know, girls, you've got dating, you've got comparison, you are doing all of these things at the same time. And I think that now not enough people talk about that. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of, talking about your feelings and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also not a fan of ignoring those things. I also am aware of the fact that those things are there, and that it does take a man with some real guts and a real level of consciousness and awareness to understand that those things are also there. And that, yes, you can run from those emotions and feelings and things that are going on inside your head, but that doesn't solve them, right? They will always stay there. And what I've learned and what I teach many of the guys in my program right now is that we have everything in our lives to distract ourselves from the very thing that we need to focus on. We want to be a certain person, but in order to be that person, we need to sit in stillness. We need to sit with the things that we feel inside, which is, with most guys, it is a spiritual thing, which in most men is vastly underdeveloped, because we've never paid attention to that, while that spiritual side of you is a real side. Like, we're always focused on making money. There's a plan for making money. There's strategies for making money. There's tens of thousands of YouTube videos online for making money, for becoming an alpha man. But there is virtually nothing online that teaches, especially young men, how to understand your identity, how to understand the traits of your character, why you do certain things, why you self-sabotage, why you do not feel fulfilled when you do make a lot of money. And that puts a lot of pressure on people, and it puts a lot of pressure on young men. And the result of that is that we're not able to fully be present in what we do. So I noticed this when I was making a lot of money with my business, where I still constantly had this feeling of chasing, of restlessness, even though everything seemed to be okay. I had a fancy car, I had a penthouse, I was making 50 to 100 grand a month, I was dating beautiful girls. I did everything right by societal standards, but I still felt like I was missing something. I still felt like I was not complete, because even though I had created an external world for myself, which was what many would say a successful thing, I didn't feel like that. I felt spiritually empty. And you'll soon come to realize that I was never really focused on spirituality and all that kind of stuff. But in order to live a fulfilling life and in order to understand yourself, like, spirituality isn't some mumbo jumbo shit. It is not some fucking, in Dutch we say, zweverig, some floaty fucking stuff that you see. When you think about spirituality, you think about fucking girls with those little dream catchers and, those fucking things. But spirituality is actually a very, very tough, and it is a process of, it is an inner battle, basically, with thought and feeling, and it is something that you do and that you have to go through at a certain point to make yourself more whole, right? To understand what parts of yourself you do not need, what parts of yourself were never chosen by yourself, and what parts are actually you. And that is a tough thing to do, because it is focused also on identity, and it focuses on letting go of a certain part of yourself that you maybe have created in order to survive a certain situation. And to let that go, it can feel very scary. Now, all of those things, like I said, are playing in the back of your head. All of those things are going on while you are in this, still needing to perform, needing to show up. Maybe you're a leader, you've got a team. You can't show any of this. This is what a lot of men feel. This is what I felt. I can't show any of that stuff. And what I did, I decided to numb all of that stuff with drugs and alcohol and drinking and women and weed and reckless spending and travels, as long as I just kept myself busy, until I couldn't keep myself busy anymore, until it fractured. And I had to come to terms with the things that were bothering me. I had to understand and go inwards and do that work in order to move on to the next level, because otherwise it was always going to drag me back to what I was familiar with. And that is that spiritual side of things. It is understanding that there is an identity that you have created that has brought you to a certain point, but most often as a leader or as a successful entrepreneur, you have created an environment in which that identity no longer fits, which in that case creates that tension. If you have created an identity, if you were born with, or if you were installed with an identity that was made for thriving on the chaos, and now you have, because of that, created a life that is peaceful, you will start to feel that nagging feeling. You will start to feel like something is wrong because you are still living on an identity that is wired to thrive in that chaos, but there is no more chaos. So what we will do is we will create chaos in other ways. In our relationships, we will create chaos in our health, we will create chaos with partners. So, and if you don't know all of these things and you still have to run a business and you still have to pretend like you're fine and you think that you should be feeling all right because you're making money, obviously all of those things, they add up. And what it does is it creates this fog in your head. It creates an overwhelming amount of doubt and uncertainty and thoughts racing in your head, because if you did everything that was supposed to make you happy and you still don't feel happy, you still don't feel fulfilled, obviously that's not a good thing. And it is one of the reasons why so many entrepreneurs end up self-sabotaging, why so many entrepreneurs are feeling unfulfilled, why so many leaders are good in what they do on business and on paper, but not good on what they do in private, or why they are successful in one area but lacking in another. And there are not really places where those things are able to be spoken about. I have noticed in the calls that I've had with my clients and people that have booked sales calls with me, where this is one of the main issues that I go through with successful guys, is that there is just nothing out there which will help them kind of go through that. And I wanted to make this video because I created the program that I have. I created Rewired because there was not something like that when I went through all of this, and I lost everything, right? I lost my life back then. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because it brought me onto this journey. But I also understand that it could have gone differently if I was able to understand what was going on, if I created a level of awareness and consciousness that would help me to prevent those things from happening while still reaching a certain level of fulfillment that I have now. Now, that didn't happen to me, but I did have, in that case, I did get the opportunity to give that to others. And I think that especially as a young man, I wanted to make this video for you guys to help you realize that it is okay to be a work in progress. It is okay to feel like shit. It is okay that you do not feel aligned yet. It is okay if you have questions. It is okay if you have racing thoughts. It is okay if you're not feeling yourself right now. What is not okay is pretending like it's going to be fine and not taking care of yourself. I think that a big thing for a lot of guys, which is one of the things that I'm a big fan of right now, and it's going to sound a little bit spiritual and a little bit out there, but you have to have self-love. You have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your energy, because if you want to create great things in life, the best way to do that is to be at your highest level as an individual. The more that you can be yourself, the more that you can give yourself. And I think that that is a very important thing. That is what one of my values is, like, develop yourself to the best of your abilities, because that gives you the opportunity to give the best version of you to others, to the world. You don't develop yourself just for you. You do it to contribute, to add value, to be of use for someone else. That is, in my opinion, a character trait for a man, and women as well, but especially men. We want to be useful, but sometimes we don't take care of ourselves in a way that we need to in order to be useful to others. And at the end of the day, that's, I think, all that men really want, is we want to be useful to others. We want to be happy with ourselves. We want to be able to trust ourselves. We don't want to be able to go through life doubting, questioning, wondering, knowing that there is something that we should be which we are not, living in guilt and shame and resentment because of our self-sabotage. That is not, you're not serving anyone when you walk through life like that. And there is no honor in saying that you are helping others while you are breaking yourself down. So that was what I wanted to share for this video, and I hope that it lands for the right people. And if you think that someone needs to hear this, because you're not alone, let me tell you that. Like, obviously this is a hard thing for men to talk about, but I can promise you, I can tell you from my own experience with the fact that I'm speaking to so many entrepreneurs right now, so many men, so many high performers that come to me, that this is a very big thing that is very prominent in today's world, especially with men, you know, between the ages of 22 to 35 in this online space where it's all about status comparison, and you know, it's very easy to get lost in all of that. So if you feel like this is something that someone needs to hear, then please do share it with them. And if you need help with certain stuff, obviously just reach out to me. There is a form down below in the description that you can apply for, but you can also just send me a DM on Instagram. My mission is to change people's lives, in a way that I have been able to change my life after losing everything, after realizing what made me truly happy, what made me truly fulfilled, and what made me a true high performer in every aspect of life, in my relationships, in my business, in my finances, in my health, in my spirit. Because you can be a 10 on all of those areas if you understand how to unlock that part of yourself. And that's what I help guys with now. So I've done a lot of studying, and I'm pretty sure that I know a thing or two that can give you a perspective shift. So if you need help with that, obviously just reach out, guys. And I hope this video helped. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Ciao.